Why some people still struggle to sleep, even when they do everything right. You've dimmed the lights, turned off the TV early, even made yourself that herbal tea everyone swears by. And yet, as the clock slides past midnight, your mind still hums with restless thoughts. For many over 50, this isn't just about a bad night. It's about mornings that feel heavy, memory that slips more than it should, and days where your energy burns out long before sunset. But what if the problem isn't your habits at all, but that your body's off switch has simply forgotten how to work? And what if, in just a couple of quiet minutes before bed, you could remind it, using nothing more than your own fingertips? For thousands of people in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, a gentle sequence of tapping on 3 precise points has been linked in research to triggering the body's natural relaxation response. It doesn't take a long routine, special equipment, or expensive supplements. Just a few calm moments, and a willingness to try something different. Here's why this matters. Those who master this simple touch-based habit often wake more refreshed, find their balance steadier during the day, and notice their minds feel sharper in conversations. Those who don't, the tossing, the 3 a.m. wake-ups, and the slow drip of fatigue may quietly become the new normal. Tonight, I'll guide you through these 3 points and show you how people like you are using them to reclaim their evenings, their mornings, and their peace. The quiet switch inside your own hands. Sleep researchers have long known that certain nerve pathways, the ones linked to calm breathing, slower heart rate, and the deep letting go that precedes sleep, can be stimulated through touch. The surprise? Some of the most effective access points aren't deep in your back or neck, but right in your hands, face, and chest. Carolyn, a retired school librarian from Vermont, used to describe her nights as endless hallway walks in my mind. She'd lie in her neatly made bed, the smell of clean cotton sheets all around her, and watch her thoughts pace back and forth. The old remedies didn't work anymore. Warm milk left her bloated. Counting breaths just made her notice her heartbeat. One evening, after reading about calming acupressure in a health magazine, she decided to try tapping a few points on her face and upper chest. She sat propped on her pillows, lamp casting a soft golden circle around her, and began. First, gentle taps between her eyebrows. Then, light drumming on her upper chest. Finally, slow presses just under her cheekbones. By the 3rd round, she felt her jaw unclench. A warm heaviness spread down her shoulders. Her next memory was sunlight on her curtains. For anyone over 50, the takeaway is clear. Sometimes the body just needs the right signal to stand down. How to do it exactly? First, sit comfortably, either on the edge of your bed or in a chair where your feet touch the floor. Let your shoulders soften. Next, bring your index and middle fingers together. Begin by tapping gently on the spot right between your eyebrows, the place where the bridge of your nose meets your forehead. Keep the rhythm steady for about 20 seconds, breathing slowly. Then, move your fingertips to your upper chest, just below the collarbones, slightly to the left and right of center. Tap lightly, as if waking a sleeping bird, for another 20 seconds. Finally, place your fingertips just under your cheekbones, near the outer edges of your nostrils. Apply gentle, slow pressure, holding each side for about 15 seconds while you breathe deeply. Repeat the whole sequence 2 or 3 times. Keep your movements slow, unhurried. If your mind wanders, simply return your attention to the feeling of your fingertips. The gift of even one good night. For Robert, a semi-retired mechanic from Michigan, one solid night of sleep after months of restlessness felt like finding my old self again. The next morning, the coffee tasted richer, the air outside sharper. He moved through his day without that constant low ache in his temples. It wasn't magic, he said. It was my body remembering what to do. When you're over 50, a single night like that can mean clearer thinking at the breakfast table, steadier steps on the porch stairs, even more patience with the people you love. And the difference compounds. The more often you sleep well, the more your body expects it. Have you ever tried a simple bedtime technique like this? I'd love to hear what you noticed in your own nights. Share it below. Where fatigue hides, and how to outweed it. The trouble with poor sleep in later years isn't just the tiredness. It's how it creeps into everything. The missed details in conversation, the sudden blank when you walk into a room, the stumble on uneven pavement because your reflexes lagged. Fatigue has a way of stealing little pieces of independence before you even realize it. Margaret, a 72-year-old widowed grandmother in Oregon, knew that feeling too well. She prided herself on staying active, tending her small rose garden every morning. But after weeks of broken sleep, she noticed herself avoiding the stairs, leaving dishes in the sink because she felt too drained. Her daughter suggested trying the three-point tapping each evening, as a kind of closing ritual for the day. Margaret added her own touch, playing soft instrumental music while she tapped. Within a week, she was sleeping 6 or 7 hours straight. 2 weeks later, she was back in the garden at sunrise, hands deep in damp soil, breathing in the scent of her roses. For a 50-plus listener, that means more than rest. It means keeping the life you love fully yours. Why this works best at night. The body's natural melatonin release, your own inner sleep aid, rises in the evening, but stress hormones can block its effects. Gentle tapping on certain points has been shown in studies to reduce those stress signals, letting melatonin work without interference. Think of it as dimming the lights not just in your room, but in your nervous system. That's why this is more than just relaxing. It's sending a timed message to your brain. Now you can rest. If you've read this far, it's likely because you're tired of chasing sleep. Why not give your body this signal tonight? The real change isn't just sleep. When these nights begin to add up, people often notice a chain reaction. Morning walks feel lighter. Memory recall in conversations improves. Even digestion can settle because your body isn't living in constant alert mode. And perhaps the most unexpected gift? Confidence. The quiet assurance that, even as the years roll forward, you still have tools to care for yourself, without waiting for someone else to fix it for you. You deserve that kind of self-trust. Remember this before you sleep tonight. The three-point tapping isn't a cure-all, but for many, it's a bridge back to what the body was built to do naturally. Just a few quiet minutes, a little mindful touch, and the right kind of patience can open the door to the kind of sleep that fuels your memory, balance, and joy. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope you try it tonight and wake to a morning that feels entirely different. If this spoke to you, please subscribe for more senior wellness insights and share your own sleep experiences in the comments. The hidden enemy of sleep after 50. For many people in their 20s or 30s, a bad night's sleep is a nuisance. For those over 50, it's something entirely different. A slow drain on balance, attention, and even the ability to enjoy the day without fear of tripping or forgetting something important. And here's the part most don't realize. Past midlife, the body's natural rhythms shift. Hormones tied to sleep regulation start arriving later or in smaller amounts. Stress signals take longer to quiet. Even if you go to bed early, your brain may still be running laps. This is why the three-point tapping method isn't just another relaxation fad. It works with your body's current wiring, not the one you had at 30, to cut through the chatter and signal safety. One quick way to know you're on the right track. If you feel your jaw unclench and your shoulders drop within the first round of tapping, your body is already leaning into rest. A night on the Oregon coast. Paul, a 64-year-old former paramedic from Portland, had been dealing with restless nights ever since retiring. His house by the sea should have been the perfect setting for rest. The sound of waves through the open window, the scent of salt air, the cool breeze at night. But instead of drifting off, he'd lie awake staring at the ceiling, his mind replaying decades-old emergency calls and what-ifs. His wife suggested the tapping sequence she'd read about online. That night, sitting on the edge of the bed with the faint sound of gulls outside, Paul tapped between his eyebrows, then on his chest, then under his cheekbones. At first, nothing seemed different, until he noticed his breathing had slowed without trying. The roar of the surf became softer, closer. The next thing he knew, sunlight was slipping across the bedroom wall. For a listener over 50, that means this. Sometimes the problem isn't the room, the bed, or the noise. It's the body not getting the right cue to let go. What happens if you ignore the signs? Poor sleep at this stage of life isn't just about feeling tired. It may be tied to slower reaction times, occasional unsteadiness, and difficulty concentrating on conversations or tasks. Over time, the risks can pile up, from small kitchen mishaps to near misses while driving. Ignoring those first signs is like letting a slow leak run under your floorboards. It's quiet, but it can cause more damage than you realize. That's why simple, consistent habits matter more now than ever. Have you ever noticed how your sleep changed after 50? Share one small detail you remember. It might help someone else realize they're not alone. Where touch meets calm. The beauty of the three-point tapping isn't just in what it does for sleep. It's in how quickly the body responds to touch when done with intention. Unlike a complicated yoga sequence or an hour-long meditation, this method fits in the quiet space between turning off the light and closing your eyes. The sequence works best when your hands are warm, your breath steady, and your movement slow. You're not forcing sleep, you're inviting it. And over time, your brain begins to recognize this ritual the way it recognizes the feel of your favorite blanket or the sound of your childhood home at night. Why timing is everything. Evening is when your body's internal systems are naturally shifting gears. For those over 50, though, that gear change can get stuck. Stress hormones stay higher longer. The heart rate stays a beat too quick, and tension hangs around the neck and shoulders. By tapping these points at the right time, ideally within 10 to 15 minutes before you plan to sleep, you help your body catch the wave of its own melatonin release instead of missing it. The difference? Falling asleep becomes something that happens to you, not something you chase. When the mind won't stop talking. If you've ever laid in bed, replaying conversations from years ago or making mental grocery lists for tomorrow, you already know. Sleeplessness isn't always about the body. Sometimes, it's the mind that refuses to dim the lights. After 50, this can become more intense. Retirement, family changes, health concerns, all add new layers of background noise in the brain. The result? Your pillow feels like a thinking chair instead of a place to rest. The three-point tapping helps not by silencing thoughts, but by giving them somewhere to land. The rhythm, the gentle pressure, the predictability, all work together like a lullaby you hum without realizing it. A quick check that you're doing it right. After the second round, your thoughts feel slower, like they're moving through warm honey instead of darting like sparrows. A late-night kitchen story. Linda, 58, from Minneapolis, often found herself wandering into the kitchen at 2 in the morning. She didn't even want food. She just felt too wired to lie still. She'd run her fingers over the cool countertop, listen to the faint hum of the fridge, sip water, and hope she could eventually go back to bed. One night, instead of pacing, she sat at the kitchen table, elbows resting on the smooth wood, and began the tapping sequence. Between her eyebrows, upper chest, under the cheekbones. Over and over, slow and steady. She noticed the hum of the fridge grow softer, the ticking clock in the living room fading. By the time she finished her third round, she was already thinking about her pillow, not her worries. For those over 50, this means one important thing. Sometimes the shortest path back to sleep is through your fingertips. The instruction refresher. First, find a comfortable seat, bed, chair, even the couch, as long as your back is supported. Next, with your index and middle fingers together, tap gently on the spot between your eyebrows for about 20 seconds. Keep your breath slow and even. Then, shift your fingers to just below the collarbones, tapping lightly on both sides of your upper chest for another 20 seconds. Finally, rest your fingertips under your cheekbones, near the outer edges of your nostrils, and apply light pressure for 15 seconds. Feel the warmth of your touch and let your jaw relax. Repeat the full cycle 2 or 3 times. Keep the lighting low, and let this be the last thing you do before lying down. Why the ritual works better than random effort. One-off attempts rarely stick. The brain thrives on patterns, especially past midlife, when familiar cues become deeply comforting. Doing this at the same time each night, in the same quiet way, trains your nervous system to anticipate rest. Think of it like turning off the last lamp in the house. Once that light's out, everything else knows it's time to settle. Have you ever had a small nighttime habit that signaled to your body it was time to sleep? I'd be curious to hear what it was. A ripple effect you can feel in the morning. For Harold, a 70-year-old retired mail carrier in New Hampshire, better sleep didn't just mean feeling rested. It meant waking with steadier footing when he got out of bed, needing fewer pauses while climbing the porch steps, and even finding more patience for his grandson's endless stories. I didn't realize how much of my short fuse was just exhaustion, he said, with a laugh. That's the quiet power of getting the body and mind to stand down at night. It changes who you are in the daylight. When the bedroom feels like an arena. For some, the moment they turn off the light, it feels like the start of a competition, them against the clock. Every minute awake feels louder. The shadows seem sharper. You can almost hear your own frustration. This is especially common after 50, when the body's natural sleep cycles can become more fragile. The more you push, the more alert you feel. It's a cruel loop, and breaking it requires a signal strong enough to override the tension. The three-point tapping works here not as a distraction, but as a reframe. Instead of trying to sleep, you're simply moving through a calming sequence. There's no win or lose, only rhythm, breath, and the soft feel of skin under your fingertips. A good sign you're easing into it. The room starts to feel smaller, safer, more contained, as though the edges are closing in to hold you. The mountain cabin winter. James, 61, spends every winter in a small log cabin in Colorado. The nights there are silent except for the occasional pop of the fireplace. But that quiet can be deceptive. It leaves a lot of space for old worries to slip in. One night, with snow piled high outside and the air thick with the smell of pine and wood smoke, James found himself staring into the dark for hours. Remembering a podcast he'd heard, he began tapping between his eyebrows, then on his chest, then under his cheekbones. The sensation was small but certain, like turning down the volume on a radio. By the second cycle, the sound of his own breath seemed to merge with the faint creak of the cabin walls. The next time he opened his eyes, pale morning light was spilling across the quilt. For a listener over 50, the meaning is simple. The right cue can turn even an overactive night into a deep, uninterrupted stretch, linking breath to touch. For those who want to deepen the effect, pairing the tapping with slow, measured breathing can help. Each tap or press becomes a marker for the inhale and exhale, which further quiets the body's stress response. Start each point with a deep breath in through the nose, then exhale slowly through the mouth. Let the tapping match that pace, creating a steady, almost rocking sensation for your nervous system. It's this gentle layering, touch plus breath, that can transform the routine from a simple action into a nightly signal your body can't ignore. When sleep returns, life opens up. Maria, a 55-year-old baker from Toronto, hadn't realized how much her chronic sleeplessness had changed her. She stopped going to early morning markets. She cut back on social visits because she felt too drained to chat. After a few weeks of the tapping method, she started waking earlier, rested, and ready to knead dough before dawn. The smell of fresh bread, the hum of the oven, the warmth of the kitchen, all came back into her life. Her words to me were simple. It gave me my mornings back. Have you ever had something small return to your life after finally sleeping well again? The gentle urgency. The longer poor sleep continues, the harder it can be to reverse. But every night you practice this simple tapping, you're teaching your body the way back. And unlike pills or devices, you carry this tool with you everywhere, on trips, in guest rooms, even on restless afternoons. The question is, will you give it enough nights to work its quiet magic? The overlooked link between sleep and balance. Past 50, sleep isn't just about feeling refreshed. It plays a direct role in how steady you feel on your feet. A restless night can subtly dull the reflexes that keep you from stumbling on the curb or missing a step on the stairs. This is why, for many older adults, better sleep can mean fewer close calls. It's not only about energy, it's about safety. The three-point tapping works here by allowing the nervous system to shift from high alert to rest mode, which restores the micro-coordination your body depends on. A quick sign you're getting it right. In the morning, you feel more grounded when you stand, as if your legs wake up with you. A balcony morning in Florida. Elaine, 67, lives in a small apartment overlooking the Gulf. For months, she'd been too groggy to enjoy her usual sunrise coffee on the balcony. Her nights were scattered, an hour here, 2 hours there, interrupted by long stretches of staring at the ceiling. One evening, she decided to try the tapping sequence with the sliding door cracked open, letting in the warm scent of the sea. Between each round, she paused to listen to the waves. The rhythm of the water seemed to blend with the rhythm of her fingers. She woke the next morning to soft pink light on the water, stepped onto her balcony, and realized she hadn't woken once during the night. The coffee tasted richer than she remembered. For anyone over 50, that's the kind of small victory that makes the day feel like yours again. Making it a gentle habit. Consistency matters more than intensity. You don't need to press harder or tap faster for results. In fact, that can make the body tense. Instead, treat the sequence as a nightly ritual, like brushing your teeth or turning down the covers. Start at the same time each night, in the same place. If you like, pair it with a cue, dimming the bedside lamp, or putting on a favorite soft robe. Over time, this combination becomes a signal your body starts to recognize almost instantly. Why it works even for light sleepers. Many over 50 describe themselves as light sleepers, waking at the faintest sound. That's often because the brain is lingering in lighter stages of sleep instead of cycling fully into deep rest. By calming the nervous system before bed, the tapping sequence can help the body enter those deeper stages more reliably. You may still wake for a moment in the night, but you're more likely to drift back without a fight. A call to try tonight. If you've been searching for something safe, simple, and free that you can start immediately, this is it. It's just you, your hands, and a few quiet minutes. Nothing to lose, and maybe a whole night to gain. What's one reason you'd like to sleep better right now? Share it in the comments. You might inspire someone else to take the first step. When energy stops running out too soon. One of the most frustrating parts of aging isn't just the slower mornings. It's how quickly energy fades halfway through the day. You start strong, maybe even feeling optimistic, and then by early afternoon, it's as if someone pulled the plug. Often, this isn't about age alone. It's about how much quality sleep you're banking each night. A body that never fully recharges will always run out of fuel early. The 3-point tapping helps refill that battery more completely, so your energy lasts until evening without that heavy slump. A clear sign it's working. You reach the end of the day and realize you haven't had to fight the urge to nap even once. The garden that waited. Richard, 70, loved tending his small vegetable garden in suburban Ohio. But over the past year, he'd found himself skipping afternoons outside. The weeds began to win. The soil felt heavier, the sun harsher. He told himself it was just age catching up. Then, his daughter suggested trying the tapping technique she'd learned in a senior wellness class. For a week, he practiced every night before bed, even on days when he didn't feel particularly restless. The change was subtle at first, a little more alertness after breakfast, a steadier pace during chores. 2 weeks later, he was back in the garden in the late afternoon, brushing dirt from his hands, smelling the fresh basil, and smiling at how the rows looked alive again. For someone over 50, this means one thing. Sleep repairs more than the mind. It restores the drive to do the things you love. Pairing the sequence with environment. While the tapping alone is effective, you can amplify the signal by shaping the space around you. Low, warm lighting. A room cool enough for comfort. Quiet or gentle background sounds, like soft music or distant rainfall recordings. This isn't about perfection. It's about creating a set of cues that align with your body's expectation of rest. Over time, the combination becomes even stronger than either element on its own. The long game of better sleep. It's tempting to expect immediate, dramatic changes. And yes, some people do notice results the very first night. But the real transformation often comes in the steady layering of good nights over weeks and months. Think of it as a slow tide coming in, one wave at a time, until the shoreline of your days is completely reshaped. Invitation to share. If you've tried the 3-point tapping for more than a week, what changes have you noticed first? mornings, afternoons, or evenings. Your experience could be the encouragement someone else is waiting for. When rest turns into resilience. After 50, the value of a good night's sleep isn't just in how you feel the next morning. It's in how well you handle life's surprises. Deep rest strengthens your ability to recover from small stumbles, adapt to unexpected changes, and keep your mood steady even when the day throws curveballs. Poor sleep, on the other hand, can leave you brittle. Little inconveniences feel heavier. Minor aches seem sharper. And patience, with yourself and others, runs thin. The three-point tapping helps restore that inner cushion by letting your nervous system fully downshift before bed. You know it's taking hold when you start catching yourself handling challenges with a little more grace than before. The Bridge Club evening. Cynthia, 63, had been skipping her weekly bridge club for months. By the time evening rolled around, she felt too drained to socialize, even with close friends. The thought of driving across town after dark seemed exhausting. She began using the tapping method nightly, not expecting much beyond maybe falling asleep a bit quicker. But after 3 weeks, she noticed something unexpected. Her evenings felt lighter. She had the energy to go out again, to laugh over cards, to enjoy the feel of shuffling the deck and the warmth of friends' voices around the table. It wasn't just that I had more energy, she said. I wanted to live my evenings again. For someone over 50, that's the hidden benefit. Better nights can bring back the parts of life you'd quietly set aside. The sequence as a signal to disconnect. Part of what makes the tapping work is that it becomes a clear cutoff point from the day. When you sit, breathe, and touch those 3 points, you're telling yourself, we're done here. No more planning, no more rehashing, no more lists. This mental boundary is powerful, especially in a world where phones, news, and messages try to follow us into the night. The tapping is your way of closing the door. The gentle momentum effect. The more nights you use this method, the easier it becomes to start. Your body begins to crave it, just as it might crave the comfort of a familiar chair or the taste of tea before bed. This momentum makes it more likely you'll keep the habit, and that's when the deeper benefits unfold. A question for you. If you could get one thing back through better sleep, more energy, steadier balance, sharper memory, calmer mood, which would you choose first? When memory feels clearer. For many people past 50, restless nights aren't just about tired eyes. They can cloud memory in ways that feel unsettling. You might pause mid-sentence, forget a name you've known for decades, or walk into a room only to stand there wondering why you came. Quality sleep is one of the brain's best tools for filing away the day's events and sharpening recall. The three-point tapping helps by reducing the stress load that often disrupts this memory work. As the body shifts into deeper rest, the brain finally gets a full night to sort, store, and strengthen. A sign it's working. You find yourself remembering small details again. The punchline of a joke, the exact spice you used in last week's stew, the name of that neighbor you only see once a month. A Sunday morning breakthrough. Frank, 69, loved doing the crossword puzzle in his local paper. But over the past year, he'd found himself struggling with clues he used to breeze through. It's like my brain just needed more warm-up, he said. After a month of using the tapping routine nightly, Frank noticed something small but telling. He could fill in the first half of the puzzle without pausing. Names, dates, and trivia seemed to surface more easily. It wasn't about becoming a genius, he laughed. It was about feeling like me again. For anyone over 50, that's the reward. The return of the little mental sparks that make daily life smoother and more satisfying. When rest eases the edges of the day, better sleep doesn't only restore memory, it softens the edges of the day. Frustrations that once set your nerves buzzing feel smaller. Your tone becomes warmer, your patience longer. The tapping works here as a nightly reset, wiping away the residue of the day so you start fresh. A habit that travels with you. One of the strengths of this method is that it needs no equipment, special space, or perfect conditions. You can do it in a guest room, on a cruise, in a quiet corner of an airport lounge. Wherever your hands can reach your face and chest, the sequence can work. This portability means you're never without your sleep signal, a rare advantage for anyone who travels or spends nights away from home. A quiet invitation. If you try the 3-point tapping for a week, pay attention not just to how fast you fall asleep, but to what changes first in your days. Sometimes, the benefits show up long before you realize the nights have changed. The core idea to carry forward. Over these nights and stories, one truth has come through again and again. The body already knows how to rest. It just needs the right reminder. After 50, that reminder often has to be clearer, calmer, and more deliberate than it once was. The 3-point tapping offers exactly that. A small, portable ritual that can coax the nervous system toward the stillness it craves. Whether it's reclaiming steady balance in the morning, sharper focus in conversation, or the energy to enjoy an afternoon hobby, the path often begins the same way, with those quiet touches between your eyebrows, across your chest, and under your cheekbones. The full instruction, one last time. First, sit comfortably with your feet on the floor and shoulders relaxed. Next, tap gently between your eyebrows with your index and middle fingers together, about 20 seconds, breathing slowly. Then, move your touch just below the collarbones, tapping lightly on each side of the upper chest for another 20 seconds. Finally, rest your fingertips under your cheekbones, near the outer edges of your nostrils, and apply gentle pressure for 15 seconds. Repeat the cycle 2 or 3 times, in dim light, as the last act before lying down. A final story of change. Agnes, 74, thought her sleeplessness was simply part of getting old. For years, she accepted the early hours, watching the sky lighten from her recliner, feeling her body ache from being awake too soon. One winter, she began the tapping practice. It felt strange at first, but she kept at it. By spring, she realized she was waking with the sun, not before it. Her mornings were warmer, her step lighter. She planted flowers that year, and when they bloomed, she told me, "It feels like I'm blooming too." For the 50-plus listener, the message is gentle but clear. Better sleep can still grow in your life, no matter how many seasons have passed. Warm closing. If you remember only one thing, let it be this: your nights can change. They can become softer, steadier, and more complete. All it takes is a few minutes, your own hands, and the willingness to try. Thank you for spending this time with me. I wish you nights of deep rest and mornings filled with the kind of quiet joy that stays with you all day. If you found value here, I invite you to subscribe for more senior wellness insights, like this video, and share in the comments one small change you're hoping better sleep will bring into your life.